In these really demanding industries, where literally millions get poured into maintaining machines, keeping them running perfectly, have you ever actually stopped and thought, why do we sometimes overlook the most critical asset, the people?
It's a really powerful question.
Yeah, and it reminds me of this insight from Cheryl Blair, who works deep in the mining sector. She said, "We plan maintenance for machines, but not for people."
That really hits home.
So today, that's exactly what we're doing, a deep dive into that paradox. We're exploring what it really takes to build genuine, human-focused safety in these tough environments. The theme is digging deeper than ore. Human resilience makes safer minds.
And Cheryl Blair is really the perfect guide for this. She founded Above the Horizon Wellness. She's a safety, health, and lifestyle coach. But crucially, she has 20 years of frontline experience in mining.
Wow, 20 years. So she really knows it from the inside out.
Exactly. Not just theory. She gets the big picture, sure, but also the day-to-day grind. Her whole business is about making a real positive difference in mining through coaching, training, facilitation. And her talk, it focuses on these proactive mental health strategies, and leadership that isn't just about ticking boxes, going beyond compliance to create safety that's fundamental, built from within.
Okay, so let's unpack that core idea she raised about the machines getting all this attention. You mentioned preventative maintenance, PMs meticulously followed, cleaning, inspections, even painting them.
Yeah, huge investment, meticulous care. It shows value, right? Makes sense for the equipment.
But then, the question just hangs there. When you see that level of care for machines, what's missing for us? For the people running them, what's falling through the cracks?
Which Cheryl puts her finger right on it. The missing piece, she says, isn't some big secret. It's actually quite simple, but often ignored. She frames it like this. Courageous safety leadership needs courageous self-care.
Okay, courageous self-care. That's interesting. Not just self-care, but courageous self-care.
Exactly. It flips the script. It means you can't really expect leaders to build that psychological safety for their teams or, push mental health programs effectively if they aren't looking after themselves first. Modeling it, prioritizing their own, human maintenance.
So self-care becomes a leadership skill, not just a personal thing.
Precisely, a core competency. And she talks about this especially with the macho miners, the type, incredibly hard workers, totally dedicated, but they often put everything and everybody else ahead of what they need to do to care for themselves.
Right, seeing self-care as maybe weak or a luxury they can't afford.
Yeah, exactly. Not seeing how absolutely fundamental it is to staying safe, staying focused.
That really paints a picture.
Yeah.
So when these tough, dedicated people neglect themselves, how does that actually play out on the job?
Right.
What are the real world consequences in a mine where things can go wrong so fast?
The consequences can be, surprisingly direct. Cheryl uses this really simple analogy, breathing.
Breathing.
Yeah, she watched her little granddaughter breathing, naturally. Full belly breaths, easy, no effort. And Cheryl asked, where did we unlearn this? As adults, so many of us hold our breath, breathe shallowly, especially when stressed. She even does it herself. She catches herself in traffic, a common stressor, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And she consciously tells herself, breathe, just that, to stay calm, regulate her system, stop that knee-jerk anger or frustration that could lead to, cutting someone off, making a mistake, an accident.
Wow. So a basic thing like breathing directly impacts safety, even outside the mine.
Absolutely. It shows how fundamental self-regulation is. And critically, if you want to build this proactive mental health culture in a company, the education, the mindset shift, it has to start with leadership. That's where you get the buy-in. That's how you change the culture.
Makes sense. Lead by example.
Right. And Cheryl talks about vulnerability here. She's seen it when those strong, stoic, macho leaders share something personal. Maybe about a past struggle, addiction, a tough time they went through. It's incredibly powerful. It's not about weakness. It's authentic. It humanizes them. And it fosters this real sense of compassion in an industry that's often very, very tough.
It signals that it's okay not to be okay sometimes.
Exactly. Everyone struggles. It opens the door.
And that leadership vulnerability, that compassion you mentioned, it connects straight to this bigger idea of psychological safety, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Creating a space where people feel safe enough to say, hey, I'm struggling, or crucially, I see a problem here, or that was a near miss, without fearing blame or comeback.
Yes, that's the core of it.
Because that proactive approach, being willing to speak up, that's how you spot the hazard before it becomes an incident, a tragedy, something we can't undo. When you think about the real stakes, like a fatality. That psychological safety feels absolutely essential to preventing those awful outcomes. It's literally about saving lives.
It really is, plain and simple.
So if psychological safety and self-care are so critical, how do we make them stick? How do we make them consistent? Because people say consistency wins, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that works both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Consistency in taking shortcuts can lead to disaster, but consistency in self-care builds resilience. It's those daily habits.
It really is. Consistency is key, for good or bad. Cheryl tells this really potent story about an amazing man who trained her underground. Super skilled, knew his stuff inside out.
Okay.
But he was known for taking mind-blowing shortcuts, really dangerous ones. He had lots of close calls, and eventually, tragically, he lost a finger.
Oh, wow.
And the crucial part, this guy, despite all his skill, he had a lot going on in his home life. He was carrying a huge personal weight. What he needed desperately was to just take a moment, acknowledge, even just to himself, I'm not okay.
Because the personal stress was affecting his focus, his judgment.
Directly. His inner turmoil impacted his actions, his safety, and potentially the safety of everyone working with him. It shows that just being good at the job isn't enough. Your internal state matters hugely.
So that raises the question then. If neglecting it is so risky, what does consistent self-care actually look like day to day,
Yeah.
especially in a tough job?
Right. And Cheryl gives really practical, doable examples. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be simple things like conscious breath work during the day, finding someone you trust, a coworker, a friend, just to talk things through. Or, and she really emphasizes this, reaching out to the family assistance program. She's used it herself, and she's actively trying to break that stigma around it. She says it's great, wonderful, genuinely helpful.
That's so important, breaking the stigma.
Definitely. And then there are the basics. Drinking enough water, simple but easy to forget on a busy shift. And getting regular, decent sleep. These aren't luxuries. They're essential for focus and judgment. Non-negotiable, really.
You know, I can really connect with that journey Cheryl talks about. Adopting courageous safety leadership. It's telling that younger miners started calling her mom.
Yeah, that says a lot, doesn't it?
It really does. It shows the kind of nurturing, supportive impact her approach had. And it underlines that point. The traditional safety stuff, the training, inspections, PPE, it's all necessary, of course.
It's really essential.
But it only goes so far. Real safety, the kind that prevents things before they happen, means looking inward at self-maintenance. Recognizing our well-being is tied directly to our safety performance. It's like that analogy you share. We don't shame a car for needing gas or oil. It's just what it needs to run.
Exactly.
So why on earth would we shame ourselves or each other for needing support, rest, good food, hydration? It's the same basic principle for us.
It is. And what's really key here, Cheryl stresses, is that while, yes, everyone's uniquely different and support needs to reach them where they're at, the foundation is basic education. That's what helps break that stigma around mental health and self-care. It's about giving people tools, normalizing the conversation.
Empowering them.
Yes, empowering individuals and leaders with simple, actionable steps. It's not about forcing therapy on everyone. It's about giving everyone basic tools for managing their own well-being day to day.
Okay, so what are some of those really practical takeaway steps for people listening, for individuals or leaders?
Okay, so some concrete things. Consciously taking breaks. Even just a minute to stretch or step away. Practicing that breath work we talked about. Talking to a coworker if something feels off. Don't just bottle it up. And definitely reach out to help if needed. Especially, she notes, after a big incident or a fatality when the mood is heavy. Use that family assistance program. It's there for a reason.
Right. Utilize the resources.
Absolutely. And follow through on company training about mental health and resilience. Don't just tick the box. Another great idea. Find an accountability partner.
Ah, like a buddy system for well-being.
Sort of. Could be someone at work, a friend, your spouse, someone to check in with, maybe work on health goals together, mental or physical. That shared commitment helps. She even suggests using simple tools like a mental health continuum, basically a self-check scale, from thriving down to struggling, keep it on your phone or in a notebook. She calls hers her CYA notebook, just for regular self-awareness.
A quick personal check-in.
Exactly. And finally, just trying to consistently show up positively with a smile, recognizing that your own attitude has ripples.
So wrapping this up, the big takeaway seems really clear, focusing on mental health, promoting self-care in these demanding jobs like mining. It's not just a nice to have.
Not at all.
It's absolutely fundamental for the safety. It directly reduces incidents, near misses, and ultimately it prevents tragedies. Cheryl Blair's work seems to take that personal care and scale it up to impact the whole industry.
That's the goal, creating that ripple effect of well-being and true safety, beyond just compliance, valuing the human element.
It's about valuing people as much as we value the machines.
Precisely. And maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Consider this. How might consistently investing in your own human maintenance, your mental, emotional, physical health, how might that not only boost your own resilience,
Yeah.
but also ripple outwards? How might it make your own environment, whether that's work or home, fundamentally safer and more supportive for everyone around you?